What's going on, everybody? My name is JeffreyJoslin, and this is episode number 8 of my podcast. My thoughts on this, and my thoughts on that. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. How's it going, everybody? So I hadn't put out a podcast in a long time, and really, I just kind of got beat down. I'll be the first to admit I probably got a little, cowardly. Maybe is not the right word, I guess. But you put your ideas and your thoughts out there, and there's only so long they can get, kind of batted down and pushed down and pushed against or whatever. Then you just go, well, I don't, I don't really care if you would want to hear what I have to say. Is anyone really listening, or does it even matter? Or I don't know, all these things. So I recently felt like I needed to, re-engage and have an outlet for the things that I want to say, or at least, use some of the last remaining outlets that I have to communicate with folks. And so as you can tell by, my tone or how I'm referring to things, this podcast is going to be about censorship. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm also going to bring you up to speed on what's happened since I moved to Tennessee. For those of you who don't know, I moved to Tennessee with my wife and daughter back in July of last year. Had a good solid 8-year run in California, and then just felt like it was time to head back home to the volunteer state. So we landed in Nashville, and it was strange getting back here in a particular time. When everything's closed and the musicians aren't playing and the venues are scared to open and the musicians are everybody's just scared of each other. Everybody's scared of the government. Everybody's scared of a virus with a 99.9% recovery rate. I'm not trying to make light of it. People have died. But people die every day from all kinds of things, and we don't shut down the whole world. So, it was weird coming back to Music City in a time when there's not a lot of music going on. And, I'm from here. I went to Middle Tennessee State, and a lot of my friends that I used to go to school with are really successful now. And, I tried to reach out to a handful of them, and, didn't really seem that interested, and I'm not really interested in trying to convince people to hang out with you that don't just want to hang out with you anyway, especially the ones that are, kind of successful, and I'm sure they get hit up all the time from people that want something from them. So my default was just kind of just sit back and do my own thing, get settled in again, and get my studio up and running again. And it's kind of been an opportunity to really start fresh. And, coming here in the middle of a pandemic, I like to call it a plandemic personally, but everything I've read leads me to believe that it was something that was fully planned. In the midst of this, and trying to communicate my thoughts, and it's been very interesting because at a time when I'm looking to start over, I'm looking to make new friends, new community. It's a really weird. It's like you got to kind of like, really watch. You got to be careful what you say. You got to be careful who you're friends with, or I've already encountered things in places of employment where it's like, people aren't really into you thinking certain ways, and there's certain ideas and ways of thinking that rub people the wrong way. which is fine, but, I still think you should be able to think how you want, just be able to agree to disagree, which, in the age of censorship and cancel culture and, where everybody's offended by everything, it's a strange time to have a conversation. It's a strange time to think. Try and think for yourself and have your own opinions. So anyways, we landed back in Nashville, and, as I usually do, I kind of hit the ground running, but kind of realized that, there's still things, this is August of 2020. We still had a long way to go. Wasn't quite election time, and there was still a lot more of fear-mongering to do. There's still a lot of fear-mongering, and, we saw, a lot of tyranny, I feel. These governors and politicians really overstepping their bounds, mandating things that, to my knowledge, aren't constitutional. And in my opinion, you had a bunch of folks making mandates that really were just designed to move an election in a certain way. I don't think it was really ever about a virus, because you look at, from January 20th after the inauguration, you look at how the World Health Organization has walked back all these things. You look at how the governors are all of a sudden ready to open up everything in spite of a brand new strain of COVID. You see the numbers all of a sudden to decline. I mean, it's just, to me, it's obvious. I know, not everybody sees things the way I do, but pretty clear. This was something that was engineered and then used to control, and still is. There's still, people are still walking around in masks, and people are still. Which, if you want to wear a mask, I don't care. You can wear a mask, but as far as my research leads me to believe that mask isn't doing jack for any of us. I've seen too many videos showing, this guy blowing vapor through various masks and it going through, and the fact that the virus particle is way smaller than the holes in these things. And it's just most of us are walking around with cloth on our face anyway. It's you can't honestly believe that. I mean, you see these guys handling viruses with hazmat suits, and and you're gonna expect me to believe that walking around with a piece of cloth on your face is helpful to you. Not to mention the fact that most people, that cloth is in the bottom of their purse or backpack or back pocket, accumulating germs. And then they just put it on your face, sucking your own carbon dioxide all day long. And you're supposed to tell me that's healthy? Meanwhile, nobody's talking about ways to boost your immune system. This is the best way for any of us to fight off these diseases. Now, I get the fact that they are immunocompromised people, and there are people of certain age that have, low immunity and low, compromised immune systems. I get it. And that sucks. And, but data shows that those people are the same ones that already run the risk of getting hurt by anything. It's you're going to shut down the whole thing. You're going to mandate that the healthy people wear masks. You're going to tell people to stay home. You're going to shut down people's businesses. Look at the suicide rates. Look at the drug addiction rates. Look at those numbers. The numbers don't lie. And, at the end of the day, you have incentivized hospitals to put COVID on things that aren't, so they can get a bunch of money. I mean, it's just, I don't know. You can think what you want, but I have my way of thinking, which leads me to the topic at hand, which is censorship. So, I think the very first thing that I came up against was, I put out a podcast. It was episode 4. And it had certain topics in it, with regards to, I'm trying to figure out what I can say or not say, because I don't know how they're, listening to these things, or how they're, I definitely was in the title, so I'm sure that's how they deleted it, but I don't know if they're combing through the content to delete stuff as well. But anyways, I put out podcast about Trump. I put a podcast out about the Great Awakening. I put a podcast out. This is all in the one podcast about Q. And, a lot of people are learning about what that is, but I've been someone that's followed it for the last 4 years, and everything that I've researched, everything, the rabbit holes that I've gone down, or trails of research, or particular perspective I've found to be helpful through all this, to see through the nonsense and to see through the things that have got everybody panicked and worried and freaked out. But as far as I can tell, everything is still going according to plan as far as what my understanding of everything that's happening at the moment, which I won't go into too detailed, but just to say that, the particular inside information we feel like we've gotten on that side of things, or rather the clues or breadcrumbs that have caused us to ask questions or research or dig deeper, or these have all been accurate and still accurate as far as the time and dates of things, or who knows about that, but I'm still very confident that things that are about to transpire are going to blow people's minds. If they're not already awake, those who are still sleeping, they're going to have a red pill shoved down their throats like they've never believed. They wouldn't believe. And so the first thing I noticed was, all right, that this podcast got deleted. I got a message from Spotify, which I guess Spotify now owns. Anchor is the platform I put out my podcast through, and they're like, oh, your podcast has been deleted. I'm like, well, isn't that interesting? You're no longer allowed to have free speech on the platform that's supposed to be dedicated to people streaming music and podcasts. And, it's obviously, I don't know if it's an American company, which that doesn't seem to matter too much anymore. But so that was the first thing. It's like, all right, so if I talk about this particular topic, then I'm going to get canceled, censored, just, I don't know, just shut down. And I think that was probably, right around the time when, well, the other thing is like all these opinions about COVID, all these opinions about mask, whatever, they just seem to threaten. People get so mad because I think the reason they get mad is everybody's playing a game. Everybody's playing along with the game. You have government regulation. You have government threatening businesses. You have businesses getting shackled with fines and all these things if they don't shut down. They're made an example of, and then you have this kind of top-down, the employers, they're trying to maintain their business, so they're trying to communicate to everybody, hey, we're doing everything by the CDC guidelines. This is all safe and by the book. And then you have everything, top down from there. Anybody else that works at those places, they got to go by the rules. They got to do the thing, and everybody's just trying to play it safe. Everybody's trying to be safe, which, like, when has the government ever gave a crap about your safety? Like, I'm sorry. Like, come on, people. All of a sudden they care about your safety? Sorry. So you have that aspect of things. And then you have, like, sorry for anybody named Karen out there, but the Karen phenomenon has been just the idea that your neighbors are like, your people that you don't know are like, have become like Nazi brown shirts, or like reporting you for certain things, yelling at you in the supermarket for not wearing a mask. You're a murderer. You're killing people. It's like, what? I'm sorry, what? Like, in a world where everyone's about the science, like, where's the definitive proof that anyone is killing anyone by not wearing a mask? Like, in flu season, we're all passing around the flu. These things are just floating around. As far as I understand about immunotherapy, the best thing you can do is get the thing, boost your immune system, get it in you. Your response to it has to do with your immune system. Now, again, I'm not trying to be insensitive to people who have compromised immune systems, but that's their job to take care of their own health. Like, I don't know. It's just the idea that, like, me not wearing a mask is going to stop something from floating around in the ether that's already just floating around, and you getting it from some rando that's, and they, you can find, studies done that asymptomatic people can't transfer. And then all, the CDC, they just keep walking back all this stuff, and you can see all this data, and you kind of did. I don't know. It's just to have an opinion on the matter is like not allowed. And so, there was some stuff I think on Instagram I started to push back. 'Cause it's just like, at the end of the day, like, I'm responsible for my own health. You're responsible for your health. I think it's a real manipulative way to get people to fall in line and go with the herd or the bandwagon, to just try and emotionally manipulate people and try and say that they are, oh, you don't care about people. It's like, what do you mean? Like, you don't blame, like, if somebody gets the flu from somebody else or used to, you didn't blame them. It's just like, this thing has been so hyped up. So anyways, I pushed back in certain ways on Instagram. And I think, I don't know exactly if there was a certain instance. I know a lot of my posts were getting flagged or whatever. Some things that I would post in my stories, they would get fact checked. All of a sudden the fact checkers are out. You got to make sure that your facts are straight. And so that was happening. And then all of a sudden, there's an article that comes out that's like, oh, okay, Facebook is going to ban all the QAnon people. And sure enough, the day the article came out, my Instagram got shut down, and I've been unable to log back in or create a new account. And every time I tried, it was like, oh, we'll review your account within 24 hours and let you know if you can get back in or whatever. So that was the first thing. And then I think shortly after that, I was locked out of my Facebook account. One of those things where it's like, all of a sudden your password was changed by some random thing. And then every effort to like get back into my account proved futile, including like giving my ID. Then it was like, oh, well, because of COVID, we can't verify your identity. And even the email that I use, like the Yahoo email, which it's a long story why I even have a Yahoo email for the, verification, I can't get into that one. They're just like, oh, sorry, we can't do that right now. It's like, I don't know what's going on there. So then I was without that for a little while, which was kind of nice, to be honest. It's like, once you do without it, you're like, oh, what the heck am I even, if I wasn't someone who had a business or like, my music to promote, I wouldn't have any of it, to be honest. But, I know that I had some Facebook ads that were running, and so that was kind of a bummer because I had some good things going with some of that. I was able to reach and figure out a way to reach audience with ads. And so I wasn't even able to get back in to turn those off. So I guess at whatever point, my credit card is unable to be charged, I guess those will get shut off. But yeah, so at that point, I really just kind of like, hunkered down and just was like, well, all right, let me take all this time. And I think, this is before the holidays, before the election and all that. And then I just kind of began to ask and pray and trying to figure out, well, what do I do? Like, what am I supposed to do as far as like the ways that I'm communicate, put out music or whatever. So around the holidays, I was like, well, let me just put out, I'm just going to kind of hunker down. I'm going to make some music and I'm going to just put stuff out. I can use SoundCloud. I can use YouTube still. And so that's what I've been doing. So I've been using those. So then, you have, all right, so you have the deleting of these accounts of people who simply, everybody likes to say, the media likes to say, oh, all these QAnoners are just violent people. Like, show me evidence of where it was the QAnoners that were burning and looting and thieving and rioting all summer long. It's like, it's the hypocrisy is just maddening. So you have them banning and shutting, and for a long time they've been silencing and shadow banning conservative voices or conservative viewpoints, and it just it's like you just inch by inch, bit by bit, they just take a little more and take a little more and take a little more, and then you have the election. And then all of a sudden, anybody who had an opinion about the election or mail-in ballots or any of that sort of stuff, all of a sudden Twitter and then all of the other platforms, they are, they're like fact-checking that. It's like, to be honest, if there really wasn't a problem with anything that was going on, why would they have to do any of that? Like, seriously ask yourself, now, especially now where we are, you have these, and we've seen them go all in after the election and the inauguration, and how Twitter's just wiped out. So fast forward, to after the election and after the inauguration, all this, I think it was the same day that the president of the United States was taken off of Twitter. I mean, if that doesn't blow your mind, the same day that happened, I was taken off, and thousands and thousands of others as well, for no reason, just like, boop, you're just all wiped out and gone. So it's like, okay, now I have 3 of my main platforms that I use for communication, and, obviously the 3 big ones, which my understanding is all of those were funded by the CIA anyways. I think it was like Facebook used to be, I think, LifeLock. There was a project by the CIA called LifeLock, I believe. And then the day that was shut down, which basically a way to control people, take their information, control them, and control their speech, and all the things that we've seen it do. Basically, they had created this platform on the day that it ended. Apparently Facebook was created, and they say it's Mark Zuckerberg, but there's all kinds of other stuff behind these things. I think my understanding is they're all government funded, or all of them before, they got all this crazy money to do, to create what they've created, which is like superior platforms, like research and development is something that they were able to do to create these superior platforms, and then they got people to get on them, and then they flip the tables on everyone. Oh, this is a place of free speech, and then all of a sudden it's like full 1984. It's like full tyranny. So then it's like, all right, well, let me check out some other platforms, and there are a lot of platforms popping up. You have Gab, you have Clout Hub, you have MeWe, you have Rumble, you have, let's see, what else? There's a lot. And I've hopped on a handful of those just kind of to keep up with the sources of information that I would go to. Telegram, that's a good one. I like Telegram. I actually have a Telegram channel you can hop on. So here we are in the land of the free and the home of the slave. And we are not allowed to have different viewpoints. Not allowed. Now, not allowed to have certain viewpoints that people disagree with. You can burn and loot and, I don't know, all the stuff that we saw last summer, and no one says a word. And then the moment that you have, it's like let's examine it. Like, all right, so you're going to shut me down. You're going to shut down the QAnoners. You're going to shut down the people with a certain mindset. What is threatening in this? I don't post violent things. I don't post racist things. I don't post anything other than, like, the thing that threatens them is this idea that we that follow this movement have been given potential insider information that has encouraged us to research certain topics, look into things, think for ourselves, don't take the mainstream narrative, and the potential that good is coming, and the potential that the corruption that we've been under for potentially the last God knows how long is being exposed. which has infiltrated every aspect of our lives, from the government to the church to business to big pharma. I mean, it's almost like too obvious. Like they play their hand so hard. Like if there wasn't any problem, why would they go so hard after all of us? If what we were saying wasn't true, why would they go so hard after all of us? Unless it was a threat, unless everything we're saying is true, and what is actually happening, which I think, you had a whole bunch of people wake up to the fact, probably 100 million worldwide, potentially or more, wake up to the fact that this guy, who the whole world used to love, and I'm talking about Trump, everybody used to love him, especially the black community. That dude is probably talked about in more rap songs. He's on the Oprah show. Oprah herself asked him to run for president, or would he ever run for president? Here's something to consider for all those folks that thinks he's a racist. Go research who funded Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign when it was faltering. Go research that. Like go look at all the photos of if they haven't been all scrubbed from the internet of, Trump rubbing shoulders with a lot of folks in the black community. It's such a joke. So you create a monster. You create a monster, this racist, Islamophobic, whatever the heck phobic monster, and then you ram it down people's throats for 4 years through the media. You get everybody thinking whatever you want to, whatever they think they actually know about this guy. Meanwhile, 80 million or more voting Americans are actually really stoked that he's in office. He's doing good things for them. You have numbers that are out of control. And, it's like you got to just ask yourself, like, why do they hate this guy? And then the more you ask questions like that, you realize it's because he and whatever, team or people he's working with, whether it be the military or a certain, inside, whatever, he's coming in, he's cleaning house. And it's been corrupt for a long time. And it's been, my understanding of what's happening at the moment as a result of ending whatever was the Act of 1871, which is came out after a result of us being bankrupt and then being basically bought and then sustained by what I understand to be the Vatican, and then I guess the big bankers in London. And everything we've been doing since then has been to pay back that debt, which has put all the American people in slavery to this system, this corporation, which my understanding has been ended. Now, I'm not really good with all the details, the executive orders and things like that, but my understanding is he came in and just has been cleaning house. You can look at all of the resignations across the board, all of the government agencies, three-letter agencies, CIA, and NSA, Department of Justice, FBI. They're all, the lists are mile long, the resignations. Not to mention the CEO resignations over the last 4 years. And, all these people connected with child trafficking across the world, all, coming under scrutiny. You have the COVID thing, which my understanding is that was a Chinese bioweapon, possibly, you have George Soros involved, potentially Bill Gates involvement, potentially Fauci connected to this lab and where this thing was created or bred or expanded, whatever, souped up or whatever, and so then you have, this pandemic, which, there's a documentary called Plandemic, I believe, where they show, I think it was in 2018 where they had this, or 19, they had this committee or this meeting of minds. I can't remember where it was, but it was all these people got together, these thinkers, and they basically staged a global pandemic and all of the aspects that went along with it. So they actually filmed news segments where they had the anchors saying literally the things that they've been saying over the last year. All of the, it's ridiculous how to the T all this thing was. It was they've assembled this group of people to basically rehearse a potential pandemic. And This is years, but a couple of years, and I think there's documents. Bill Gates has been talking about this for a minute, talking about wanting to vaccinate. You could see him at the TED Talks, talking about population reduction and how we can use vaccinations to do that. And so then it's like, oh, here they come, the big answer. The big answer to the COVID pandemic is vaccinations, potentially that are patented and owned by these folks. Like, it's just like such a joke. But what I think is people are waking up. So you had people waking up over the last 4 years, those folks voting in an election, and then it being stolen, literally being stolen. You can see the data. It's like statistically impossible to do what they supposedly claim Biden did. Some dude hiding in his basement who can't get like 30 people to his rallies, and somehow ends up having record-breaking voters, even more than Barack Obama. It's like, come on, are you kidding me? This dude, like with dementia Joe, and then everyone who then certified that vote, potentially participating in one of the biggest frauds perpetrated on the American people in history, potentially treasonous, potentially, criminal act of certifying a fraudulent election, which my understanding is there's still Sidney Powell, General Flynn, Arizona, Pennsylvania, all these places are still investigating these things, and actually more and more is coming out or being made public. It's funny how it all happened like a week after the inauguration. So then you have people waking up to that, and then you have what my understanding is even a lot more people are waking up to those who voted for old Joe going like, oh no, I think we might have made a mistake. Like, and him signing these executive orders within the, like a record number of executive orders in his first couple weeks. And I don't know. All I know is that there's a whole lot of us that see things happening a certain way, and all of those people that, and here's the thing, all of us that see things happening a certain way, which is like what do we, people call the conspiracy theorists or the conservatives or the MAGA people or the QAnon people. Like, here's what we believe. And I can't speak for everybody, but I've been around it long enough to know that like we want freedom for all people. We are patriotic. We believe in the founding principles of this country, which is liberty, freedom for every man. We also believe in law and order. We also believe in a justice system that is not two-tiered. And we understand that there's been people that have been rigging the justice system in their favor and making the rules and breaking the rules and bending the rule. You look at this whole GameStop thing. I mean, it's amazing. They're just showing you, they're just doing it all in plain sight. So it's like everybody's waking up. Everybody's waking up to what's really been going on. And all the crazy folks are the ones that they've said were crazy are all going to be, hopefully not seen as so crazy after all it's said and done. But in the process, they're really extending their I mean, it's like, what did Joe signed an executive order to like make it illegal for people to use the term China virus. Like, you can't say that. Like, what? Who cares if you think it came? I mean, it came from China. Like, it came from China, Wuhan, China. It's like, I mean, I don't know. It's like no one cares if you go eat at a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, food made by Chinese people. It's just like, I don't know. It's all pretty ridiculous. But at the end of the day, what I was saying with regards to what we believe we're going somewhere good. We believe that things are being rearranged. Corrupt people are being held accountable. Large industries and corporate moguls, bankers, and these type of people are actually being held accountable for their actions, which some of which are indescribable with regards to crimes against children, gruesome, horrid acts against children, trafficking industries. We believe there's darkness, and the darkness is being exposed. And there's various facets of the way that people are. investigating and doing their part to try and communicate what we feel like is going on. And, at every turn we're being shut down and censored and silenced and all these things. And it's like, ask yourself why. When on the other side of things, people are pretty much allowed to say what they want, while Twitter is banning people for having a particular opinion, they're allowed to have like child pedophilia or like it's like that they won't delete, or like, you have the side of like certain left politicians encouraging people to go out and, harass people on the street. It's just like, it's so hypocritical. And I think people are waking up to that. And so, I personally think we're headed somewhere good. I don't know how it's all going to go down, but I trust God. I know God is obviously doing something here on a level that I don't think we understand. And I think if we hang on a little longer, just keep your eyes peeled, ask questions, you'll see that something big's going on, and more and more people are waking up to it, and those that don't are going to have like like a big surprise, their mind's going to be blown if they haven't seen it by this point. But so all this to say, if you're still with me at this point in the podcast, and you want to hear what I am working on putting out, the best way to do that is go to my website. Obviously, without the means of being able to share on certain platforms, it definitely means a lot for those of you who are sharing my content on certain platforms and I'm not able to. I'll continue to put out things. I've released a gospel EP. I've released some other music recently. I'm trying to stay creative, definitely being very creative and trying to release music regularly and come up with new ways of connecting with folks and putting out content. And, you got to be creative when you have an opinion that the world doesn't like. And it's all good till they come after you. It's all good for those of you that aren't on the receiving end of the censorship. Yeah, it's all good. They can do whatever, but wait till they come after you. Wait till there's like a whole side of, you're able to do and think and whatever. Wait till they come after you. And then all of a sudden it won't be so cool. So to sum it all up, I am, if I have offended you by anything I've said, I apologize. Definitely not my intent. If I have a different political belief than you, I don't really, my political beliefs, are, I've kind of told you, like, I don't consider myself a Republican, a Democrat. I'm a patriot. I'm a God-fearing child of God who believes in the principles that I think America is founded on, which is freedom for every man and woman, all individuals, but also has to be governed by the rule of law. And, everything in between, the policies that we create. Well, I believe in free speech and the ability to freely exchange ideas, because then we can see which ideas are good and which are bad, and then implement the good ones that have been hashed out and worked out. And so, I don't know. I'm interested in thinking for myself, doing my own research. Hope you will do the same, and hopefully we'll see what I believe is a great awakening, a great revival, a great movement of God, a great time ahead, I believe. But we're just going through it right now, so hold on a little longer. And as we in the Q community like to say, enjoy the show.